Just letting you guys know you can listen to my No Bleeps podcast anywhere you stream podcasts or on my No Bleeps YouTube channel. Link in the description. Hey guys, it's Philly and welcome back to Spill Sesh. Today we've got to talk about Nikita Dragon because she is calling out people left and right in the new BFFs podcast episode. As I talked about in a previous video, Jeffree Star was recently on the BFFs podcast and they grilled him on a whole bunch of questions, and they did the exact same thing with Nikita. Now, when I was talking about Jeffree's episode, I had mentioned that they asked him about Nikita Dragon, and in that episode, they basically said that Nikita had actually come in before Jeffree to be interviewed by them, and she had said that they were not friends and it was like better off that way, and they wanted Jeffree to comment on it.
Nikita Dragon, we said you're coming up. What's there?
Is there something there?
She doesn't love you.
Okay. Why not?
That's what it
I
said.
have no idea. We asked.
Her
She's
words.
like,
Her words.
Yeah,
some
her
people
words,
don't
not
need
ours.
to be friends.
Yeah, and then
That's
she's like,
what she
and she said, "Ask you."
You crossed a line, and she didn't say what it was, but there was a line crossed, and she thinks you don't need to be friends anymore. Some people aren't meant to be
But didn't
friends.
give us any more.
I mean, I can respect that. I haven't seen her in years.
Yeah.
And
So-
she said that.
So now that they finally released the Nikita Dragon full-length episode, we finally get to hear what Nikita had to say about Jeffree Star when she was asked about him. And this was all part of a segment that they did on the podcast where they were all going around basically saying if they would cancel a certain influencer or not. And Jeffree Star was one of the people that came up. Now, prior to them discussing Jeffree, they also mentioned people like Jake Paul, and they said that they wouldn't cancel him, that he's actually a nice person. They also said the same thing about Dixie, that they would not cancel her, and they said that Bryce is a homie, so no cancellation there. And then when they got into Jeffree Star, Nikita Dragon basically explained that they are not friends, and that just has to do with the fact that there's a certain line that you do not cross, and it basically seemed like Jeffree Star had crossed that line with her.
We used to be friends at one point.
And then what happened?
I mean,
Friendship ended.
Yeah, certain people shouldn't be friends
So-
anymore.
You don't want to sling it, eh? You don't want to
Well,
get
we're
into
gonna
the
interview
drama.
him, so anything that would be good. I
You can
remember,
ask him.
like, why you guys aren't friends anymore.
Yeah, you can ask him.
Will you have the same stories?
I don't know. I mean, for me, I think there's a certain line you don't cross, and when it comes to real life, you know what I mean?
Would
People talk, and I feel like we all, gossip or whatever.
Yeah.
But when it comes into real life situations that are untrue or, rumors or whatever that affect your real life, I think that's when
You crossed the line for that.
Yeah, when you cross the line.
And she was basically describing how there's a lot of people who are jealous of even people that don't have as much as them.
People can be jealous of you or mad, even if they have more than you. Like if someone's has millions and millions of dollars or whatever, they could still look at you and be like, oh, you have a vibe, you whatever, and still feel some type of way.
Okay.
So as we know, Jeffree is so rich. He has the biggest house. He has all of this stuff, this big company. And at the time when he was friends with Nikita Dragon, he was probably at one of the peak moments of his success, aside from the points where he was with Shane Dawson. And she was saying that basically people can be super rich and have everything in the world, but they could still be jealous of other people. And it seemed like that was what she was hinting at with Jeffree Star, that even though he had everything, he was still very jealous of other people. And it honestly led to his downfall, which we honestly have heard this before when Tati came out and was talking about Jeffree Star and how he decided that he was going to convince Tati to make Bai's sister and Jane was going to convince her to make Bai's sister. It was because they were jealous of James Charles and James Charles' success, and they wanted James Charles out of the way in order to make room for their big conspiracy palette and this big launch that they were doing.
It's now my opinion that Jeffree and Shane were both bitterly jealous of James Charles' success. Jeffree resented that so much of his business was centered around his biggest rival, and Shane did not like that James Charles wanted to make a documentary. Neither of them were happy with standing in his shadow on YouTube anymore.
So what Nikita is saying about people being jealous of each other within the beauty community or within the group of friends that she used to have, It very much lines up with the information that we've always known about, which is definitely not that surprising, but it's still crazy to see other people kind of talk about bits and pieces of Dramageddon from their very own perspective. And later on in the video, they once again asked her if she would cancel Jeffree Star, and she basically just feels like he's already canceled himself enough.
You canceled Jeffree?
I feel like he's canceled himself enough times. You know, sometimes people just cancel themselves.
Now, also in this episode, Nikita Dragon decides to address the Trisha Paytas drama. And if you guys know, we talked about this a couple months ago, but Trisha and Nikita were going back and forth on Twitter. They had a whole drama because of it. They were basically going back and forth because Trisha had made fun of Nikita's Snapchat show, and then it escalated to them calling each other out in a bunch of different ways. And they asked Nikita about that drama, and Nikita said that Trisha tried it with her, but she's still a fan of Trisha, which honestly is surprising. I thought she was gonna be pretty petty because for a while there, it seemed like Nikita was saying anything and everything to get Trisha to say something about her or make like a video about her, but Trisha never budged on frenemies or anything like that, did not mention Nikita, which a lot of people were just like, good for you, Trisha, because that's probably what Nikita wants. But at the end of the day, Nikita is out here saying that she is still a fan of Trisha and said that even though they talk a little crazy, they really don't have any bad blood, it seems like.
She even tried it with me, and that was fine. I was like, look, I'm always going to be a fan of you. You talk a little crazy.
Oh, she's
did. Very
you guys
little-
got into
You
it.
made stuff up.
No,
Or just
it was
like
just out of
Twitter
left
fight.
field. It was
Right.
just for no reason. I'm like, why are you a hater? For like, I think of her so highly because I am a fan because she's funny, she's hilarious,
Yeah.
she's just like,
Trisha.
she's a troll.
She's
It's
Trisha. Yeah.
So that's basically on Nikita's end. I mean, who knows how Trisha really feels about Nikita, but it seems like Nikita is willing to open up the friendship line or at least still be a fan of Trisha's. Now, as for James Charles, this is something that a lot of people in the comments noted, but at one point in the podcast, Nikita did mention that James is cool.
administration.
Yeah.
You know what? James is cool.
And someone even commented saying, Nikita saying James is cool really says a lot about her. And this is something that I'm not surprised about. I mean, Nikita stayed very close to people like Tony Lopez, Andreas Lopez during all the stuff that ever came out about them. So I'm not surprised that she is out here supporting James Charles despite all that has come out about him. And speaking of people like Tony Lopez, Andres Lopez, former members of the Hype House, let's get into what Nikita had to say about the upcoming Netflix show that is the Hype House Netflix show. I honestly still can't believe that they have a freaking show, you guys. But they were asking her what the heck the show was even about, which honestly I was pretty curious about because I don't know what they're gonna be talking about on this show. And I don't even know the members anymore. I mean, the Hype House, who even is in it anymore? They were literally making fun of the fact that all the members left on their most recent like TikTok. And I was just like, don't you guys have a Netflix show coming out? You guys should be promoting it, not saying you guys have nobody left. Like, clearly there's not going to be a season 2 if there's nobody left in the freaking house. But Nikita says that the show is not so much about the house itself, but more like the people that are living in the house or the people that are connected to the Hype House, and kind of compared it to The Hills, which, okay, like, you know, if it's gonna be like The Hills, like maybe I'll give it a shot because I love The Hills, but I'm definitely curious to know how it's all going to go down on the actual show. I mean, they were filming it during kind of the peak time of the Hype House actually having some hype, so I know that there will be some good content. I do think, however, they need to release it soon before the Hype House literally becomes so relevant that when it does drop, people are gonna be like, huh? I honestly try to look up a release date and they haven't even announced one yet, so I honestly don't know when we're ever going to get to see this dang show, and by the time it even gets released, who is going to be watching if they wait any longer? But Nikita was hyping it up. She's really excited about it, obviously, because Netflix is definitely a really big deal compared to Snapchat, where her main show is. Other than that, I mean, Nikita did not have any problem spilling any tea, but she honestly didn't want to make any waves either. She played it very cool, talking about Jeffree and Trisha, obviously the two people that she has the most drama with, but definitely did spill some tea a little bit in there, was a little shady, but I definitely want to know what you guys think about what Nikita had to say on this podcast. How do you guys feel about the answers that she gave, the things that she said about some of the more controversial people that she's had to deal with? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.